Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Makeover Monday. It's the first day of the week. I'm going to start from scratch. I think I'm going to go on a berry fast with Bhakti Justin, because berries are in season, my friend.
That doesn't
Give me that beach body for when I go to Mexico.
Well, I was gonna say you got a luster to you, Raghunath. You got a glow. I don't know.
I ate a lot of berries yesterday. Ate a lot of berries.
Maybe that's what it was.
Hey, you know who's got a glow to herself today?
Who's that?
Sherri Sobinsinski. Sherri Sobinsinski. If you're a regular Zoomer, you know Sherri Sobinsinski, but she had one of those moments where she was going on her
I
first.
know what happened.
Nagar Sankirtan, the Harinam they call it. When you're into yoga, and the teacher starts chanting, and you're like, oh, this is really nice, this is cool. And then the teacher said, and then you graduate, and you're like, let's go to a kirtan. So you go to the yoga studio at night, and then there's a kirtan. And then she's like, let's go to the local temple, and you go into the local temple. Wow, they're doing kirtan too. How nice. And then the local temple says, yeah, we're going to do something called Harinam Sankirtan. And they're like, oh, that sounds sort of interesting. And it involves chanting. That sounds fun. And then she sends me this emergency text message. She's like, we're about to go chanting in the streets with me and a brahmachari and one other person, and I'm scared out of my mind.
All right. And what happened out there?
I said, she goes, it was the moment that when you were a brahmachari and Kaustubha told you to go out in the parking lot and distribute books, and you wouldn't get out of the van. She's like, I'm having a I won't get out of the van moment. And I said to her, get out of the van.
Oh, there you go. She just needed that little push.
She needed a little push, a little encouragement. It's something. Where is she? There's something about that false ego that just gets cracked open when you're chanting in the streets like that. Now, the materialist doesn't like their ego crushed, broken open. The materialist likes to hold on to that ego, but the people practicing bhakti were like, oh, break it open. And then all of a sudden, the resurrection, the phoenix rises.
It is so interesting that you brought this up, Raghunath.
Yes.
Because I had an experience this weekend. I was also out there in the streets, chanting, chanting within the kirtan, right?
Yeah.
And I've been finding, like everything that we talk about here, reading Bhagavatam together on Wisdom of the Sages, when you go out there, I don't know, somehow it starts to come alive, when you go in the Harinam, when you go and do kirtan outside. And so I saw something. It practically brought me to tears.
Okay, before you say that, Sherri Sobinsinski says, my ex-husband ended up seeing me. He was having dinner with his new girlfriend.
Now do you understand why the marriage broke up? Just take a look at this. You see?
You know what? I find that Krishna puts those people in your life just to say, good. and because you're feeling good in that kirtan, going, yeah, my ego's gone, I feel great, and all of a sudden there's my ex-husband with his girlfriend, just to like really
Yeah. So,
crack
but
it wide open.
that's a Krishna miracle right there, right?
That actually, him being there was a
With
Christian miracle for
with
sure.
his new girlfriend. That's like all the more so, right?
That was like after Brahma was already humbled and bowing down to Krishna, and he already said, "Law, Krishna, I can't believe it." When he tried to like trick Krishna in the Vimohana Leela, he tried to
Yeah.
steal the cowherd boys, and then after he already bowed down, he already was broken open and humble. Then all of a sudden, Krishna sees, oh, there's millions of Brahmas. Which Brahma are you? He like further
Oh.
breaks the ego, and the thousands of Brahmas appear in the sky from the
Yeah.
different universe. That's what happened to Sherry. Okay, onward with your little
Oh yeah.
miracle, or
So
what
I
do you call it?
was
Is it a
I was
miracle?
no, well, it certainly was a miracle, but it was like it was a very moving vision for me.
Your volume seems low. People are
Oh,
saying,
really? Okay, how's that? Is that better?
yeah,
Okay.
eat that
I
mic,
got to really eat it today.
eat it.
So I was sitting next to Bhakti Louis
Okay, we love him.
in Washington Square Park in the kirtan. And different, Washington Square Park is like wild nowadays. It's like it's packed out, The city's Did you notice when you were here, Rugger, the city's becoming like a little bit more lawless again? New
It's
York,
definitely got
right?
lawless.
Yeah, it's getting there. So Washington Square Park is like, it's just jammed out with people, and people come, and some of them like to dance a little bit. Some of them like to make fun of the kirtan a little bit.
Oh,
They're
really?
kind of
It's
still
that scene?
immature a little bit. Like the only way to respond to it is kind of like to mock it or something like that. People have that's okay. That's no problem, right? Let them be that way. That's cool. But this one girl came. It was a girl. My guess is she's about 12,
Okay.
and she was with her mother.
Were you mocked by a 12-year-old?
No, 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 not mocked at all. This girl, I believe she was a little autistic. Okay, just just a little bit. And I think what that had done for her was she had no ego like the rest of us do. You know, like she wasn't trying to preserve some kind of image,
Right.
and present that to the world. You put up this mask, and you're constantly trying to,
Like the rest of us healthy people, or
That's right,
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a special birth,
It,
to
it,
like
it,
of
I've
no
really,
ego, where you can
yeah.
just like dive deep into.
Well, that's what happened. So when she connected to that kid, in our philosophy, our theology, our faith, is that this holy name is not different from Krishna, from God, himself. And when she walked into that kirtan, she immediately, like it was in no uncertain terms, you could see she immediately was like, boom, this is it. She didn't want to move. She didn't want to go from it. And her mother was really cool. Her mother was just like, she saw what her daughter was experiencing. She just let her go with it. So they stayed there for like a half an hour or something like that. And this girl was dancing and singing, and in the most
Wow.
sincere and beautiful way. I was watching a person with no ego, just
And
their heart fully connect in that moment. And it was a moment. I was talking last week how like these moments of revelation, or these like kind of, you know what I'm saying, where there's a birth of something new, just like the four Kumars in this story, right? When they saw Lord Vishnu and they smelled the tulsi leaves coming from his feet, there was a change that took place. And you could sit there and watch this girl go through it in such a profound way, because she didn't have that. She wasn't thinking, oh, is everybody going to think I'm weird because I'm dancing? She was
if you
just
think
dancing.
what a burden our ego is in so many different ways, and what do people think of me, and what will my spouse think of me, and what will my boss or my professor or my parents think of me, or my husband, or right? It's like, it's actually a special birth to be born like that. It's almost like we have to take birth like that before we can be liberated.
It's true, actually, and so that's what you could see. That's what like Krishna was putting Sherri through, right? It was like, okay, you're gonna go out there. I want to take even further, like, and, he dismantles our ego in different ways.
It's like there's a Sobensinski family reunion.
Everyone, who was it? I remember we had someone. Was it AJ Sullivan? Someone was out on the beach. It was AJ. Yes, there's something about that Delaware crew, right? If they go out, and do kirtan on the streets, like it really happens, right? What he was
You
on the
know what?
beach and
They're
like
sincere. So Krishna keeps on throwing that,
that's what it
just
is. That's
turns
what it
up
is.
the whenever you're going through some problem in your bhakti, your ego gets confronted, you should understand you're incredibly sincere. And therefore you just get
Yeah,
pushed
you're
and pushed
incredibly
and pushed to blossom.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah,
the
take it
Delaware
that way.
posse is evolved.
Something about Delaware posse is really something. So, any case, watching this girl, I was almost in tears. I was holding back the tears. Louis was right there. Louis was almost breaking. Louis breaks down all the time. That
Louis
guy's
always
one
in
big
tears, man.
softy.
This guy is like just a big heart
Yeah,
walking
and
around crying, asking for forgiveness.
yeah, and if you go to NYC Harinam on Instagram, they posted a couple of a video and some photos of this girl. But it was so touching. I just fell in love with this girl like right on the spot. And then I got invited that day. I got invited to the Harinam. They had a picnic the following day in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, in the park, right?
Mm.
And I attended that yesterday. And that, I had a whole nother thing going on in my heart. New York is so great because there's so many devotees doing so many things. And Chinmay Radha, who attended our picnic the previous week, she had cooked up a big feast. Her and others came together because you know what they wanted to do?
What?
These devotees that go out and do kirtan in the streets every day, they said, let us serve them, right? Let us serve them. That's an attitude of bhakti, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe I can't go out and do that, but I can serve them,
Yeah.
right? And so
Look,
they
Mara's
made
taking notes. She's like, "Did you just
yeah,
serve the
serve the
devotees with
devotees.
food?"
Yeah, yeah,
Got
that's what you
that.
do, and so from their hearts, these devotees had prepared this whole picnic. It was like a major thing. It was like there must have been at least 10 or more preparations. I think even more. They had all kind of stuff, and so
Civilians don't eat like this.
they're like, we want to please you. If this doesn't work, then we're going to feed you this, and if that doesn't work, we're going to feed you that. But we're going to make sure you walk away satisfied. And so I attended that, and it was beautiful. And I decided, something Paramatma spoke up in my heart and said, Kaustubha, this is an opportunity for you to serve these devotees. Wake up. Don't just sit there. Like take this opportunity. So I said, okay, I'm going to serve out. And I felt that mood, like you and I would have, like back years ago when we were getting trained up in Vrindavan, like to serve the feasts. Remember those days?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Right? Where it's like, you know what, and I was served, and I'm kind of senior to most of those devotees. Most of them are younger than me and everything. And they were like, no, Kaustubha, sit down, like, we should be
Right.
serving. But I was like saying to them, like, you don't get it. I'm happier right now doing this,
Mm.
and I felt bliss just like serving them all. It felt so good. And let's try to do it as nicely as we can.
You know who had that beautiful attitude the other
Who's
day?
that?
We went to Organic Grill
Oh
on
yeah.
First Avenue. And Vlad from Organic Grill. The guy was so nice. He's like, I listened to his. He's from Russia. He's like, I listened to Wisdom of the Sages. Oh, I'm so happy Kaustubha's here. And
He was such a nice guy.
He's such a nice
He's
guy.
our age. He's like 55 years old. He immigrated from Ukraine in like 1980 something, 1990 or something like that.
He somehow knows everybody from the hardcore scene.
Yeah.
And Rich Roll and Joe Rogan. He's like, yeah, Raghu, I've seen you on Rich Roll. Joe Rogan, Rich Roll was in here. And he's like,
Rich
and
Roll went there.
then he busted out a whole spread for us and just fed us.
He was so kind and such a good-hearted guy. And for me, this is like you were saying, like we walk in there and it's playing all hardcore. Like we're walking in, there's Dead Kennedys playing. Like this, we never thought that this day would come back in the early '80s, where you go to a restaurant and they're playing the Dead Kennedys. But I liked Vlad a lot, and you're right. He had that attitude, like, let me please.
He's just bringing out food that we're not even
Others.
ordering, just like for our pleasure.
And look how happy he was, right? It's
That was
like happiness comes through service,
Yeah.
So I really felt that it was such a nice opportunity. And then when I sat down to eat at the end, I was in complete bliss.
Yeah.
I just felt I was flying. Felt so high. But we really got to experiment with this idea, right? That I'll find more happiness in serving others than I will in being served myself. We have to work. Give it a try. Maybe it doesn't make sense. Give it a try. You apply it. And when you do apply it, you find actually it's true.
Yeah. Hey, remember what's going on Friday? It's our Friday 500. It's our 500th show. And we're asking everybody to send us an email, Wisdom of the Sages 108, and put in the subject line 500. And if you want to us to read how the Bhagavatam has affected your life, and keep it concise. And also, those are on Zoom. We're going to pick you out of if you want us to pick you out in Zoom, you could just write us and just say, pick me.
Maybe
and
they could even just write it in the chat right now, like, hey, I would love to share a few words or something like that.
Yeah, you could do that. Write it in the chat, and Mara will copy that list down. And then you just bring some like little headphones, like Kaustubha's got on right now, Zoomers, and that helps with the microphone. And you can tell how the Bhagavatam has affected you. You keep it short. You don't want to blah 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 the whole show. Take it over.
You invite them, but not too long. But Ananda Devi is down.
Very good. So yeah, that's Friday's show. It's going to be a little variety show of sorts. We're going to have Justin do some singing and some dancing.
All right.
All right. So
Ginger Mermaid Goddess is down. She'll share.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to give you a nug anyway, because I got a good nug for you, Kaustubha, before we jump in. We had a lot of things going on already, but here's a nug for you.
Before the show, you said you have capability to hold a nugget.
I can hold a nug.
Apparently, you
can. I can also reveal a nug.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Nugs are good. Nugs are friends. Here's my nectar nugget for the day. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Nothing can harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded.
Nothing can harm you
as much as your
own thoughts
unguarded.
Unguarded. Is this from a particular source, or is this just your own nugget?
You know, it's one of those things. They say the Buddha, but it's sort of like they give Buddha the credit for everything. They're like Bounty, the quicker picker upper, the Buddha. He didn't say that. They're like, where did he say that? But they give credit to the Buddha, but it could be from any source. But I like whatever it is. I like it.
Say it again, please.
Nothing can harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded. There's a lot of stuff going on in these thoughts, and they're huge. What we're thinking on a regular basis. And it changes by what we put in our ears.
That's how you guard it?
That's how you guard it.
In other words, you got like thoughts come up in your mind, and we have to be able to step back and say, hold it, why do I have those thoughts going through my mind? Right? Like, how can I tolerate this stuff floating around in there? And how did it get in there in the first place? That's how you guard it, like that?
Well, you notice it. You know, I have that, the lady, Katie Purcell, who's one of our others, or one of our Californian others. She had the story about the dolphins. If Krishna's real, let me see a dolphin. And her boyfriend said, yeah, I was just thinking that. And all of a sudden, all these dolphins started shooting up in the sky.
Yeah.
So she said, I decided, you told me to chant 1 round a day and sit there and chant 1 round. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to chant 16. So she started chanting 16 rounds a day for a week. She started doing this. And she said, and every time, and she teaches yoga in Los Angeles privately. So she drives to private houses. And every time she drives to a private house, she puts on Wisdom of the Sages or kirtan. And she just says, my ears are like inundated with Krishna all the time. And it just affects. She goes, it's like I see the world completely differently now. It's just true. Whatever we're putting in that head on our downtime, and there's a lot of downtime. Mm-hmm. And the mind wants something. It wants some food. It wants something to chew on. It wants some bubble gum. What are we going to give it to chew on?
All right. Give it that sweet, what do you always say?
Sweet
nectar pot or something like that.
Nectar pot of goody juice.
All right, getting weirder. All right, so you ready to dive into that?
Yeah, let's go in, man.
All right. We're starting a new chapter today, by the way.
Oh, that's right. I'm on the old chapter still. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Guru Purnim. That reminds me of Guru Purnim.
What happened? Just
Well, we
chanting
offer
the verse.
that prayer to the gurus.
Guru Purnima. It's a
Guru
Purnima. You know, you're a
Purnima?
linguist. Someone yeah, it's a long A on the end there.
Guru Purnim.
Ma. Okay.
All right, so this is a new chapter. It's Canto 3, Chapter 16. The two doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, Jai and Vijay, cursed by the sages.
By the sages. It's this isn't really interesting stuff going on here, because what's going to happen is Lord Vishnu is going to start to speak, and he feels bad that the four Kumars were treated the way they were by his own servants.
Mm.
And he's going to take radical responsibility. Is that the term you use? Radical responsibility?
Radical responsibility. You like that?
Yeah, he's going to take
I use
radical...
that a lot.
You use that a lot?
Yeah, radical responsibility.
He's going to own this, right? He's going to, even though he didn't do it, he didn't block them from entry. It was his servants, but he's going to say, they're my servants, so I'm at fault here. This is on me, and
Every good manager takes responsibility for the underlings.
Yeah, and he says, and he says, I apologize, right? Interesting, right? Even God is following those 6 pillars of yours, Raghunath, right? He apologizes.
Even God follows the 6 pillars of bhakti.
He does. I mean, this is quite an interesting theology, right? It's like God's like, I'm sorry. You know, where do you read that kind of thing, right? But Lord Vishnu is going to come down and say, I'm sorry. You know, I'm at fault here, and I feel really bad about this, and I'm going to make it up to you. It's kind of like that. And then he asks them for a favor. You know, it's so interesting. The first 12 verses of this chapter, maybe we'll read them all today. I don't know, but it's Lord Vishnu, like he's feeling, you know, apologetic to the 4 Kumars, and you know, and you know. There's another thing I want to... There's kind of like a theme coming out in these verses, and it has to do with the feelings that that Vishnu or Krishna has for the brahmanas. Okay? And when we hear this and when we read it, it can sound like, oh, he's like favorable, you know, like he's like biased towards one caste of people or something like that. But what we really need to keep in mind as we read through these verses and we hear him speaking of brahmanas and how dear the brahmanas are to me and so on, is that it's not that a particular caste, like they were born in. What brahmana means is someone that has these qualities, right? Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom. Like this is, it's
that's what brahmana is. You can have it too. Yes. It's by your merit. It's not by your birth. You know, this is a great point. And Harley brought up this point the other day in my meeting with Harley.
Oh yeah.
You know, he was questioning like the caste system because there's some really perverse things that are going on in the name of the caste system. Right. I just want all our listeners to know how we feel about it. In the worship of Vishnu, Krishna, that's what we do. The caste system is set completely, it's not looked up to. It's considered, it's been twisted. The real thing in Vishnu worship is that you are what you are by your own choices in this world. And that even the lowest born person, meaning you're born into a family of God knows what, your family might be like doing horrible things, and you get born to that by your choices towards your spiritual life. You could become a guru. You could become a realized being. It's got nothing to do with your birth. It's got everything to do with your merit. Yeah. It's like a type of meritocracy. It's everything that we get like in America. Like you can start anywhere and climb. It's like the American dream, but in spiritual life, where you're not held by any caste.
Right.
You can
by
any birth. Exactly.
Yeah. So right. So when we're reading about how dear the brahmanas are to Vishnu, and as he's speaking on it, the brahmanas are so dear to me, and he's speaking of the four Kumars as brahmanas, right? And they've offended the brahmanas. What it means is these four Kumars, they're peaceful, they're self-controlled, they're pure, they're tolerant, they're honest, they're knowledgeable, they have wisdom, and they treated you like this. I don't want anyone to be mistreated, but especially when someone with your qualities is not respected or mistreated, then that he's got a problem with that. And so
Sure.
that's what we should understand is that we should keep that in mind as we read these
And
verses.
and these Brahmins deserve their, they're not ordinary. They're not by birth Brahmins. They live their truth,
Yeah.
And you can rise by your choices, by your thoughts, by your actions. We're experiencing that right now in our practice in bhakti. We're rising up. We're becoming different people.
Rising up.
Right? I was just talking to somebody the other day. One of
thought you
our
were-
one of our one of our people was just saying, like, my old friends don't like me any longer
Because you're rising up.
because you're rising up.
I
They
can't
can't
believe
keep
you didn't
up with
break
you. They
into the
can't
song.
catch you.
I can't believe you didn't.
I didn't pick it up. Who's that? Rising up.
Rising up, back on the street. Come on, I thought you would run wild.
Mara
with
knows
that.
it. I don't know it.
I the tiger.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, you're a little slow this morning, Robbie.
Well, you know what?
I
not
queued
good.
you up. You should have.
I generally know the choruses, and I fake all the verses. So I'm always like, and I make up verse words. Okay, let's get into this. Ready?
Yeah. Let's
Text 1. Lord Brahma said, after thus congratulating the sages for their nice words, the personality of Godhead, whose abode is the kingdom of God, spoke as follows.
Mhm.
The personality of Godhead said, these attendants of mine, Jai and Vijay by name, have committed a great offense against you because of ignoring me. O great sages, I approve the punishment that you, who are devoted to me, have meted out to them. To me, the brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. By your merit, you become a brahmin. Everybody here listening on Zoom, including and the others and the Californians, they can all become brahmins by their merit, by their choices, right?
Yes.
To me, the brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me, because the doormen are my servitors.
There's
I
that
take
responsibility. That
full
you're at.
responsibility.
This is on me.
This is like a book on like appropriate management in businesses.
Yeah.
The manager takes full responsibility. Okay. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen.
Again, the four Kumars, they had these Brahminical qualities, and they also had super high level of spiritual realization. Like they got it. They had no attraction to anything of material in nature, right? They were beyond that.
Baby, got it.
They got it.
They got it.
So,
Okay.
But they hadn't developed that full on. They had devotion to God indirectly, like they were connected to God's energy, his spiritual energy, but not to him as a person so much. But once they saw him there, then that started to awaken in them, arise in them, and we're reading about that in the previous chapter. But he's treating them just like they have personal love for him, So and he's seeing them as these advanced brahmanas, and he feels this affection for them, and he's feeling like, I've offended you, right? He didn't even do it himself, but because it was his servants that did it, he felt that personal responsibility, and he's stepping up, and he's going to correct that circumstance, right? Through his apology.
Set him by example, Lord
Yeah.
Vishnu.
Lord Vishnu, right there. Text 5.
Text 5. A wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master, just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all of the skin.
In other words, what I believe that means is, if you see someone with even a little bit of leprosy, everybody's backing off, because it's contagious and so on. It may not even be that their body's covered with it, but one small imperfection,
Right.
or they use other analogies like one spot of ink on a white sheet or something like that. So
Yeah.
even if even a little bit, if I've been offensive to you, in my mind, that's ruined everything,
Yeah.
and I got to deal with it. I can't tolerate even that. Even if someone might consider, oh, this was a small offense, I can't tolerate even a small offense.
Yeah.
It's got to be dealt with.
I don't think white leprosy is leprosy. I think white leprosy is when the skin is white, like a piece of the skin. Ever see people?
Raghunath's, who are you, WebMD or something like that? I don't think white leprosy is leprosy.
What's two completely different things? It's like saying freckles or the measles. It's like, all right. Meryl's looking that up right now. It's okay.
Yeah, you're actually right, Raghu.
What do you mean actually right? Like, wait a second. Like,
Hey, did-
considering who you are and as nuts as you are,
Sorry.
and all the times you're wrong,
No,
this
you're
time you're
leprosy
actually
is.
right.
Okay.
I mean, leprosy is like leprosy. They should give them different names.
Well, apparently they're both leprosy in some ways, but it may not be what we think of when we think of leprosy, right?
Okay.
Is
Let's
that true,
get off
Mara?
the
They call it leprosy. All right.
No, I think it's actually not associated. The chat board has a lot of information on this
Wow.
The
also.
chat board is
Chat
off the
board.
hook right now about white leprosy. All right, let's stop right there. Okay.
Text 6.
Anyone in the entire world, even down to the Chundal. This is a Chundal. This is a whole
Chandala.
new level. Chundal is a person who eats dogs.
Well, let's talk about that right here.
Yeah, this is okay. Anyone in the entire world, even the Chandala, who lives by cooking and eating the flesh of a dog, is immediately purified if he takes a bath in hearing through the ear, the glorification of my name, fame, etc. Now you have realized me without a doubt. Therefore, I will not hesitate to lop off my own arm if its conduct is found hostile to you. So here it is. Lord Vishnu himself is saying this thing I
Yeah.
was saying about the caste system.
Yeah.
It's really got nothing to do with it. You can actually become a guru, a leader, an advanced soul, no matter what your past is, by what your choices going forward.
Right.
It's transcendental to the caste system completely. The caste system initially serves some use, but at the same time, it's material. It's got nothing to do with our spiritual
Status.
status.
Mhm,
Yeah, our
for lack of a better
spiritual
word, yeah.
status.
Yeah, it's verses like this, and Bhagavatam has many of them. Again, Bhagavatam is what's there to clarify everything, right? So, like, if you read the 4 Vedas, it's going to talk a lot about like refined people, like Brahman, like what does it mean to be a Brahmana, and so on. And then it's going to glorify those Brahmanas, and then people will misinterpret that to think that it's by birth, and
Sure.
then they'll begin to claim privileges and use it as a tool of exploitation. And they'll demand, and to this day there are people that are like this, that insist that they're special and they have special privileges because of their birth.
But they don't
I was
deserve it.
born in a Brahmana family. But so what this verse does, and even though like it's like in a cultural context that's a little foreign to us and may sound a little awkward or something like that, but just try to understand the essence of it. Anyone in the entire world, even down to the Chandala. What is the Chandala? It means the person that's like the least refined, that their habits are not nice at all, right? They're cooking and eating the flesh of dogs.
Yeah, like if I went from reading the Bhagavatam and all of a sudden I'm like, you know what, I'm over this. I'm going to eat the dog. I'd
You'd be like,
expect
"What's
that you
going
guys look
on?"
down upon me. You know, I'd
because of your
expect by that.
actions.
Yeah, by my choices.
Right. So it's saying that even that person, if they begin to change their choices, and especially if they connect directly, like if I want to advance myself spiritually, there's so many ways that I could do that, both gradual and rapid. But here, the idea is that the most rapid way of purification, the most rapid way of refining one's character, is through hearing the glorification of Krishna's name and fame, etc. In other words, by hearing Bhagavatam, right? It's like
Right.
if I decide, you know what I'm going to do on a daily basis, I'm going to take in this message. It's going to refine me, if I'm receptive to it. And at that point, my background means nothing. And this is a really important point that's shared throughout Bhagavatam and other texts, that at that point, where I came from, even my previous behavior, it has no bearing, because you're accepted. Even you're a dented can, right? Even though you've led a lifestyle that was really messed up in the past, in the eyes of Krishna, he's like, I can forgive that. I can look past that, no problem. I see where you are now and what you're aspiring for, and that's what's important. So this is a message of great hope for us, because we're all living in this world where we're all dented, and we've all made bad choices, and and we're not born in families that like have these very deep spiritual traditions like embedded in the lineage and have very refined character. Most of us aren't coming from those backgrounds.
Although I did find out that Kaustubha's father went to West Point, Mara.
Okay, but
Sort of
that's
like
Oh, I
a warrior
didn't know.
caste.
a warrior.
Interesting.
Okay, you find that interesting? Who's
do.
our friend that went to West Point? Mike, right?
Who went to West Point?
One of your yoga students.
Oh yeah, Dr. Michael Schwab.
That's right.
Udisty, I
Michael
call him.
Yeah, he's great.
Anyway, the idea, there is a reason there. The caste system, how it was originally, there is a use behind it, but it's a material use. And I think, who gets this? People who breed horses or people who breed dogs. The idea of breeding, you want, like Labradors have been breeded for hundreds of years to be very soft-hearted. Then some dogs have been breeded to be hunters. Some dogs have, and horses are breeded for their speed, and
Right.
so there's an idea of, from the parents comes the child. So when you're trying to cultivate an army, you want your daughter to marry a warrior if you are from a warrior stock, so to speak. So there's why? Because you get a bigger body, you get a body of a warrior, and from a bloodline of a warrior.
Attitude
course-
as well.
An attitude of a warrior.
The attitude
Family
becomes
traditions
ingrained.
of a warrior.
Yeah.
Ah?
Okay. It reminds me. All of this reminds me of. I forget who it was, but this is a story told throughout yoga, tradition, that there was one guru, and he was surrounded by his students. They're all brahmanas, right? They're studying the Vedas and the Vedic literature and so on.
Yeah.
And then there was one boy, young man, and he stepped forward, and with great sincerity, he said, "Would you please accept me as your student? I would want to serve you and learn from you and be trained by you." And then it was asked of him, "Well, who is your father? Let me understand your background. Where are you coming from?" Right? Because a teacher might consider that, like, who am I going to be investing my time
Yeah.
with, And he said, "I don't know who my father is. My mother was a prostitute. I don't know who my father is." Right? And then, like, the students were all saying, "Oh, well, he's not going to get accepted, right? He's not coming from a background like us, right? Our fathers were brahmanas, and their grandfathers and great grandfathers, and that's what our teacher's looking for, right?"
What did the teacher say?
Well, the teacher, he wasn't interested. He's interested in the qualities, not in the birth. If the qualities there, if that quality has been, like, as you were just mentioning, it can be cultivated within the family lineage and handed down, then it's great. But the qualities don't necessarily have to come that way. And what he saw was that this boy answered this question honestly, right? It could have been embarrassing. He could have lied,
Yeah.
but he just, with complete honesty, he said, "I don't know who my father is." And he said, a person with that kind of honesty, that's a real brahmana. I accept you as my
Ooh,
disciple.
I like that.
Right? I accept you as my disciple.
I like
And
that.
so that's the point. It's so important that we understand what's coming through here. We can understand this. It shows how ideas of social justice are included within Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga in particular, where these things are really highly clarified.
Mm.
you know, and that really plays out in Bhagavatam.
Well, we do see it, like in the case of Papa Tony and Mara, that from the healthy tree comes the healthy fruit,
There you
right?
go.
But then also you see some like demon child being born of a very nice parent, also, you
Can't
know.
have it.
So and vice versa, you got a crazy parent and you got a really sweet child, and
Yeah.
so it doesn't always play into account. So that
Yeah.
caste system, that bloodline has some use, but it's not locked in stone. No.
You know, there's two more things I have to say about this.
Please share.
The first one is someone might hear this verse and say, okay, kind of, sure. It's nice if, you know, someone
Dog
that,
eater. Come
yeah,
on.
okay, the dog eater came along and they behaved well, and that's great. But they're still not like us, the brahmanas,
Right.
right? But to be really clear, what Vishnu says here is that even if the chandala, even if the dog eater, you know, if they become attached to hearing and chanting about me, they're immediately purified.
Huh.
And if you think that I'm just saying that like as a nice thing to say or something, no, let me make it clear. If one of my servants has offended them, been hostile to them anyway, I'll cut off my own arm. Right? It's like an extreme statement. You with me? You
Yeah.
listening at all? What are you reading right now? It's an extreme statement. He's saying, he's trying to be really emphatic here, right? That it's not. I'm not just saying this. I'll cut my. Now, of course, he has 4 arms, right? He's got extra, but I'll
He's
cut
got
my arm
extras.
off.
And then he can also manifest another arm.
Yeah, but he's making a point, right? I'll cut my arm off. The other point that I want to make is that one thing that I see that I just think is so ironic is sometimes within the, like say, the Western yoga community, even in a sincere effort to for social justice, you know, to speak up for social justice, that these Western people will condemn Western yogis for adopting or teaching yoga's culture, yoga's teachings, and they'll say that's
Cultural
they'll
appropriation.
say that that's cultural appropriation. But actually, these texts, the tradition itself, is saying that this is not based on your birth, and it's trying to and
The tradition itself says it's got nothing to do
right.
with where you're coming from in the background.
And so when someone that's interested in social justice imposes this idea on this tradition, actually I say it's ironic because now they're going totally against their own principles, where it's like now so they're saying, in a sense, what they're saying is people should be judged by their birth, which is like
Right.
an idea that's totally opposite to ideas
know.
of social justice.
Yeah.
And what it's doing is it's supporting the oppressors that exist within that tradition. That say,
because
I was
every
born.
tradition has their
right?
issues. Look, Dr. Justin wholeheartedly agrees. He did one of those snaps where you snap back and forth.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to go after cultural appropriation, go after Domino's Pizza. Come on, guys.
No, I'm not saying that there aren't serious considerations, you know, and examples of cultural appropriation that should be, you know, identified and understood and improved. But it is really ironic and sad that that through saying, like, for instance, a Western person shouldn't teach yoga. That's cultural appropriation. Well, the yoga tradition is saying that anyone that has the quality should teach it, right?
Sure.
And but the oppressors that are within that tradition but not following that tradition and using that tradition as a tool of oppression, you're backing them up by saying that. You're supporting them and their system of oppression.
That's the thing. It's back to meritocracy.
Right.
It's like, it's not just practicing yoga because you're Indian. How about if you're Indian, but a total rascal, a total cheater, a total manipulator? Just because you're born Indian, you're okay
Right.
to practice and teach yoga? No. It's the quality of what you teach and how you teach it as well.
And even I'm with you. And even some of the most, what is it, agrarious? Is that the right word? Like mayor's
Egregious.
Agriculturists.
Most
Agriculturists.
egregious. Some of the most egregious examples of misappropriation of yoga culture are coming.
We're not
from
going to
people-
call anybody out like Bikram. We're not going to do that. But I know I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I mean, there's other names I could say too, and I won't get into, but really, really horrible examples of like misappropriating yoga culture. and
Say
teachings.
Sai Baba. I'm not going to go there.
No,
Just keep going.
no, there's so many names I could mention, but I won't get into it. But
Okay,
that's so. But in any case, let's take note of that, right? That within
Okay.
this tradition, it's saying that it's recognizing someone based on their qualities and not by the birth, and that's an important part of this tradition. And to make that tradition clear, to clarify that within the tradition, right here in Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva himself has decided to. He could have told any story, but he's telling this story, and he could have shared any details in this story, but he's sharing this detail. That Lord Vishnu
Right.
himself says that even if one is born in a family that's really out of the tradition, if they
Right.
purify themselves by practicing the tradition, then he means so much to them. They are so qualified that if anyone even offends them, he's willing to cut off his own arm and take responsibility for it himself. It's a very strong message being shared there.
All right.
All right,
All right. Continuing on.
text 7.
My computer's moving slow. Come on, computer. Okay,
Hallelujah.
text 7. The Lord continued, because I am the servitor of my devotees. My lotus feet have become so sacred that they immediately wipe out all sin, and I have acquired such a disposition that the goddess of fortune does not leave me, even though I have no attachment for her, while others praise her beauty and observe sacred vows to secure from her even a slight favor. Oh, isn't that sweet? He says, because I
Sweet.
am the servitor of my devotees.
Yeah.
That's why my feet are sacred. Isn't that cute? Lord Vishnu just said.
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond cute, but like it really addresses the fear in surrendering to a personal God. Try to understand the character of that personal God here, where he's saying the only reason why I'm sacred is because I serve and love my devotees who are all such great souls.
And then we say the only reason why the great souls are sacred is because they serve Lord Vishnu. It never ends.
It doesn't end.
It's like a figure 8.
Right. And he's saying that this quality, what's the, I wonder if I could put Mara on the hot seat. Mara,
Yeah,
I'm gonna put you
burn
on
her
the hot
up.
seat. There's a term or a name for Krishna that refers to him, it refers to his love for his devotees. Do you know
Ooh.
that? Do you
Oh,
know
get Sherri Sobinsinski. She thinks she's all that now that she went on Hari Nam.
that? Okay. She's got it? Sherri Sobinsinski's got it? Should we unmute her?
I don't know if she's got it. This is a tough one. This is a tough one.
Do you know it, Mara? No?
I don't think so.
Raghu?
Bhakti-vatsal.
Bhakti-Vatsala.
Oh,
Have you heard that
didn't know
before?
that. Yes.
Yeah, Bhakti-Vatsala, that his devotees are so dear to him, right? And so he's saying here that, my devotees are dear to me, and I've become dear to my devotees for what quality? It's because I have this Bhakti-Vatsala, because I have that, the goddess of fortune. Everybody's worshiping her, right? She's got this incredible beauty, and she's got the ability to benedict people with wealth.
She
and so
gives
on.
Shakti.
She gives
Lakshmi
Shakti.
Devi.
Yeah, and so people, they'll perform austerities to please Lakshmi. And he's saying, I don't perform austerities to please Lakshmi. I don't. All those material things that she gives, I have no interest in those material things that she gives. So he says, even though I have no attachment for her, right? Meaning, in other words, those things that everybody wants from her, I don't want those things from her. But still, she stays with me. I don't perform those austerities to try to please her, to get something from her. I don't do any of that. But still, she stays with me. Why? Because I have love for my devotees. And I've become sacred because of them. Because I serve them, Lakshmi stays with me. Interesting, right? In other words, when I've made serving the devotees of God my priority, good fortune stays with me. Right? Very interesting.
Beautiful.
Should we read the commentary on that one?
Commentary 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's comment on that. Here are the comments on that. The relationship between the Lord and his devotee is transcendently beautiful. As the devotee thinks that it is due to be
You identified it as cute. Right.
cute. It's cute.
Okay.
Some people don't like that word cute.
Well, it's it's
Mary,
different than
what do you
beautiful.
think? I like it.
It's appropriate at certain times, right,
I
Mary?
think cute is
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a bit irreverent in this context.
When talking
I guess.
about
Love,
Vishnu's.
yeah.
Okay.
But I get what you mean.
As the devotee thinks that it is due to being a devotee of the Lord that he is elevated in all good qualities, so the Lord also thinks that it is because of his devotion to the servitor that all his transcendental glories have increased. In other words, as the devotee is always anxious to render service to the Lord, so the Lord is ever anxious to render service to the devotee. I call it Lord Krishna is sitting by the telephone waiting for us to call. That's what I call that.
Okay.
He's eager to take us back. He's eager to be in our lives. And that's why the magic happens. That's why the dolphins jump out of the water.
Okay.
It's true. Once you start declaring, I'm a devotee of Lord Krishna, let the magic begin. It's just going to happen. Dolphins falling from the sky. The Lord admits herein that although he certainly has the quality that anyone who receives a slight particle of the dust of his lotus feet becomes at once a great personality, this greatness is due to his affection for his devotee. It is because of this affection that the goddess of fortune does not leave him, and that not only one, but many thousands of goddesses of fortune engage in his service. In the material world, simply to get a little favor from the goddess of fortune, people observe many rigid regulations of austerity and penance. The Lord cannot tolerate any inconvenience on the part of the devotee. He is therefore famous as Bhakti-vatsal.
There you go. Right. Very interesting that it's saying that, again, just let's focus on this. You take the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi. She's the head of an entire Bhakti lineage.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right.
And she's like so opulent. Like the amount, like the depth of her beauty, of her wealth, of her knowledge, is practically we can't estimate it, right? She's so qualified. Now she's deeply attached to Lord Vishnu. Why? Is it because of his opulence? Look at Lord Vishnu's opulence, right? It's like, talk about, it can't be estimated, right?
Right.
Is it because of his personal, like, physical beauty? I mean, his physical beauty is just like, literally out of this world. What is it? What quality that someone who has the refinement, the culture, the depth of culture that Lakshmi Devi has? What is it that she sees in Lord Vishnu? What is it about him that she personally finds so attractive? And that is his love for the devotees. All right. And so, well that's, that's a big arrow pointing at like what it's meant, that what we're meant to be cultivating. And when we speak of Lakshmi, again, we're speaking of like good fortune, right?
Right.
So if we take up that, like I was saying, I had this experience. I did a little thing, right? But I said, oh, let me serve the devotees the picnic, right? But I felt bliss when I did it, And if we get that point, I don't need to be the center of the show. I don't need to be this. I don't need to climb some kind of ladder, and be up on some platform. I simply let me try to find meaning and happiness through serving those that are dear to God, through serving the Bhakti-yogis. Then Lakshmi's right there with you. She's attracted to that quality. And good fortune follows you, right? Even you're going through all different kinds of ups and downs in life, good fortune is right there with you through it if you develop that mood, right? Which is demonstrated here by Lord Vishnu himself. And I think that's about all the time we have. Do we have any takeaways?
Milaki. Very good.
Takeaways there, Mary G? You like that? It's a great message.
We're getting ready for that. Friday 500.
Yeah.
We get to
All right.
meet. Everybody gets to share a little, talk a little. We get to know them a little personally. Sometimes we see their face. We see the Zoomers' faces every day. We have no idea what they sound like. They could have, they could have like this whole different voice.
All right. Takeaways. Crack the ego with kirtan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wake up and serve the devotees.
Good morning.
Guard your thoughts by changing what you put in your ears.
Guard the thoughts.
This one's my favorite. Even God apologizes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can rise up by your choices, actions, thoughts, and words.
Rise up.
And there's great hope for dented cans.
Great. And
What about all these other ones, Mara?
All right. How long do you want me to go on?
Hashtag
I'm losing friends because I'm rising up.
up.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I'm
And
losing
nothing
friends.
can harm. Yeah, sorry.
And nothing can harm you.
As much as your own thoughts unguarded.
Boom. Let's just leave it right there, huh?
There's a Bhakti recovery group meeting today at 1 p.m. And are you doing Sweet Baby Krishna tonight, Raghu?
Sweet Baby Krishna at 8:30. You know what? I woke up this morning. I said, I like the philosophy. I like the practice. I miss little Krishna. I miss little Krishna. It's like, it's interesting. You need philosophy. You need depth. You need intelligence. You need a practice. And you need a little baby Krishna. You need that. That's what I'm finding. That's my realization today.
Okay. And you know what?
Take it to the streets, people.
Even if we were chandalas eating dogs, eating cows, eating all these things, if you just listen to Sweet Baby Krishna, you get purified by taking that in through the ear, right?
Yeah.
You become dear to the Lord.
Yeah. Follow Sherri Sobensinski and the Delaware Posse's lead and take it to the streets. Put your hands in the air. Start singing the holy name of the Lord publicly. I'm going to do it. I live on a dirt road, so it doesn't really affect. It's not the same as going down like a street with cafes and everything like that. Imagine that, seeing your ex-husband. Oh, my God. She must have been like, oh.
She knew Krishna was up to something right there. She said, "I'll just see."
She says, "Oh, you're sincere? Let's see how sincere." Imagine if she's like, "This is too much," and just started running. She started running back to her car. Can't do this. I'm not. All right, everybody, come on, Bhakti Justin, get back there.